Hello friends, from today on I will be providing examples of life stories on this channel, and all of these experiences will be entirely real, with names being used as aliases. All the topics covered here are true. One of the reasons for creating these videos is to share my feelings with someone. Initially, I thought about writing a book. However, later, I decided to share my own pains, truths, and other stories through YouTube videos. I will change the names of the topics covered here and narrate them to you using artificial intelligence. In other words, all the videos will contain real memories, real pains, and real life stories. When starting this video series, I felt that I should begin with my own story, or else it would be a great injustice. I am Raziye, currently living in a city in Turkey. I am 55 years old. I have a daughter, a son, and 2 grandchildren, 1 girl and 1 boy. My life begins in a house where my 2 siblings, my mother, and my father lived. Happiness is subjective, but when I think about it, finding the times when I was truly happy has always been a challenge for me. My father was a businessman involved in trade. He had gone through a tough struggle, dedicating his entire life to earning money through hard work. He had strict rules, considered himself honest, but his honesty was entirely self-centered. Throughout his life, he only thought about himself, his happiness, and what he wanted. Unfortunately, this was the father figure I had chosen. Regarding my mother, she passed away 28 years ago. She was a beautiful, kind-hearted, soft, and pure-hearted woman. The sentences she used to say to us while shedding tears, expressing the cruelties my father had done, never leave my mind. While crying, she would always say, "Children, I would never endure this man, but I grew up without a mother, raised under the care of a stepmother, and I know how difficult it is. That's why I endure this man to not leave you with the stepmother. Otherwise, I could survive on a bite of bread, but I don't want to leave you behind with this cruel man." Friends, if you notice, I am sharing my experiences sincerely and as they are. This is my life, and the lost years of my beautiful mother are exactly like this. After being married to my father for 28 years, my mother got uterine cancer and passed away. My father continued his happy life with his new wife, as he claimed, and is currently 90 years old. I don't like to rebel, but my mother, who spent an unhappy life and died at the age of 48, and my father, who is now very happy, are the real representations of my life. Cruelty, oppression, narcissism, violence, selfishness, and all kinds of evil reside in this old man who is now very happy, and I have never forgotten the pain of my lost mother. Why am I making these videos, you may ask? I know there is justice. I don't wish harm to anyone, but the only thing I don't understand in all this is, what was my mother's fault? I still don't understand it. From the day she came into this world until the day she left, she truly did nothing but goodness. Yet I still don't understand how those who do nothing but evil can live long and happily. Sometimes I ask, they say divine justice exists in the world. I think my mother found justice where she went because she never lived a just life here. My father used to go to work early in the morning. He earned really good money, and he truly excelled at it for God's sake. He was very generous with us, his children, and my mother financially. He would say he loved us, that everything he did was for our well-being. After each joke, beating, bad word, humiliation, and insult, he would always say that he did it for our own good, because we needed to be good people, and we had to live like this. It was the rule. He believed he knew the best of everything because he was a symbol of generosity and honesty, or at least that's what he used to say, unfortunately. Right now, I'm feeling very strange. I never thought I would share these stories from here. Not being able to talk about these things in my own country and in the world, carrying them within me, has really worn me out. By saying these things, I will do myself a favor. And if someone who lives with cruel people is listening to what I'm telling, I will have a few pieces of advice for them at the end of the video. By the way, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my video. And if you have experiences in this regard, please share them. I will read them. Where was I? When my father was at work, my mother used to clean the house very nicely. She was a very clean woman. At that time, there were no automatic appliances, no washing machine, no dishwasher. There was only one electric lamp and a radio. Our house was one of the first to have a television. When I was 5 or 6 years old, my father brought a television, and the whole neighborhood would gather to watch the weekly movie broadcast. My mother would clean the entire house, feed and nurture the children, satisfy their needs, entertain guests all day long, and you know what? In the evening, she would inevitably face beatings. Receiving beatings almost every evening was a routine for her, because when my father came home in the evening, he looked for something to release his fatigue. The man had to relieve his stress, didn't he? Whichever way I look at it, it doesn't add up. He used to claim that he was a devout man, as if everyone else except himself was the worst and the most wrong person. One of the reasons for beating my mother, for instance, was this. He had come home very tired, entered through the door, and saw the slippers scattered. He would beat my mother first, then successively my sister, my brother, and me until he got tired. Afterward, he would sit down and cry, asking why we made him beat us, why we didn't do what he told us to do. I still don't understand how someone can have such a temperament and character. My mother would cry a lot, and to prevent him from beating Uz, she would go to his house. Of course, the biggest culprit was my mother. He would get angrier with her, questioning why she didn't raise the children as he wished, making her the target of more beatings. I will tell you about one evening of our lives. If I were to tell you everything, this video would never end. But I've made up my mind, and whenever I find the time, I'll continue this video series if you're interested. Even as I share with you, I feel relieved, you know? One of the reasons for the beating that evening was slippers. He beat my mother so much that he pulled out her hair, thousands of hairs, because he beat her to the point where he tore out her hair. Every time she combed her hair, the roots bled, and the blood would get on the comb. When he saw the bloody comb, he would get emotional and cry again. When we cried with her, she would say, "Don't cry, I can't bear it if you cry." My mother was very compassionate. At that time, there was a wood shaving stove. I don't know if you know what wood shavings are, but let me describe it. We put the ground form of wood into the stoves in a bucket, and there was a thick stick in the middle, about 15 centimeters in diameter. We would pull this stick, and then we would light the stove from the bottom with a match. Now, none of these things exist. Everything here is very modern. But back then, people would only heat their homes in this way. Yes, we would get beaten with that wood shaving stick, because we had arranged the slippers not side by side, but on top of each other. I was 6 years old at that time, my younger sister was 5, and our youngest brother was around 3. Our crime was that we had scattered the slippers at home. My friends, I hope you understand my storytelling style. Sarcastic, resentful, angry, and upset. I'm telling you this bad memory as it comes from within me. Do your children in your homes not scatter slippers when they are 3 to 5 years old? Do you think it's a reason to be beaten? Well, that was our biggest crime that night. Sometimes tears involuntarily flow from my eyes as I tell this. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you this, Father. I want to make a historical note of this because I don't want my mother to be remembered as just someone who received so many beatings and then passed away. I want someone to pray for my mother. I want people around the world to send prayers to my mother with their sincere beliefs. Her name is Sayadet. Her life has become like a novel. I don't want her to be a forgotten rose in the house of this cruel man. That's why I'm telling this. And in the continuation of this series, I will tell more whenever I get the chance, of course, if you're interested. Please write in the comments if you care, if you're interested in my feelings. That's all for today, friends. I believe that by sharing our common pains and problems, we can heal our wounds together. Thank you for listening to me. Your thoughts on this matter are very important to me. It's important that you follow and comment because we don't deserve beatings. We deserve goodness. We won't sit in silence just because someone has done wrong. Look, I'm shouting about an incident I experienced at the age of 6 when I'm 54. I wish you happy and beautiful days. Thank you for listening.